Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, it is high time for you to wake out of sleep. What do you sleep to? You are asleep to the fact that you are God's chosen people. Read.
For now is our salvation nearer than we believe.
So now is our salvation nearer than we believe. So before that salvation takes place, we must come back to keeping God's laws, statutes, and commandments. Give me Deuteronomy chapter 1, verse 1. So the book of Deuteronomy was written to the Israelites. And these are the words that Moses said. Read that.
The book of Deuteronomy chapter 1, verse 1. These be the words which Moses spake unto all Israel.
Moses spoke these words unto every black, Hispanic, and Native American. Give me Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 15. Actually, give me 11 and 26. Deuteronomy chapter 11 and verse 26. So Moses gave us laws, statutes, and commandments. And once we got those laws, he said this to us.
Deuteronomy chapter 11 and verse 26. Behold, I set before you this day a blessing and a curse.
So he set before us blessing and a curse. Good things for blessings and curses for disobeying the laws. Read.
A blessing if you obey the commandments of the Lord your God, which I command you this day. And a curse if you will not obey the commandments of the Lord your God.
So we had blessings if we would have kept the commandments of the Lord. And since we don't, we are getting these curses. Read.
But turn aside out of the way which I command you this day, to go after other gods which you have not known.
Hey, how you doing, brother? All right. Let me ask you a question. What is your nationality according to the Bible? Mexican. So if you look at this sign right here, this shows who the 12 tribes are and what their names are today. So you say so-called Mexican. So God calls you Issachar. You are an Israelite from the tribe of Issachar. You know, and it's important because we're actually going over who the Israelites are today. Give me Deuteronomy 1 and 1 first. So, are you familiar with Moses and the Israelites? All right, so Moses brought the Israelites out of Egypt, right? All right, read that.
The book of Deuteronomy chapter 1 and verse 1. These be the words which Moses spake unto all Israel.
So Moses spoke all of these words to the nation of Israel, the 12 tribes of Israel, all right? Give me verse 28 and 15. So he gave us laws, statutes, and commandments, and then he set before us blessings and curses. Blessings if we kept the commandments, and curses if we did not. So which one do you think that the Israelites, which path did they choose?
You guys hungry?
Did they keep the law or did they not keep the law? Say it again. I can hear you.
I'm not sure.
You're not sure? Okay, I'm gonna give you an example. Read that.
Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 15. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee.
So that verse said, if you do not listen to the commandments and do the commandments, that all these curses would happen to this people, all right? Give me verse 32. Actually, give me 49.
Verse 49. The Lord shall bring a nation against thee from far.
All right, so are you familiar with the history of the Aztecs? All right, what happened? Come closer, I can't hear you. Right, so now Moses spoke these words thousands of years ago. That what you just said came to pass in the 1500s, correct? All right, so keep reading.
The Lord shall bring a nation against thee from far.
So you said the Spanish came over here, right? Where is Spain in reference to Mexico? You know where Spain is? Spain is in Europe. It's on the eastern. It's in the eastern hemisphere. Mexico is here on the western. So read that from the top.
The Lord shall bring a nation against thee from far, from the end of the earth.
He said he's going to bring a nation from the other end of the earth. Read.
As swift as the eagle flies.
And he gives a clue on who that nation is. He said their symbol would be the eagle. So let me ask you, what is on the Mexican flag? The eagle. Right. The Spanish brought that over here. The Spanish, the Spanish flag also has an eagle on it. So those people came and conquered Mexico. Right. You follow what I'm saying? Yeah. Keep reading.
A nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand.
So of course they came speaking Spanish. What language were the Aztecs speaking prior to the Spanish coming?
We speak different, like Aztec, I don't know.
It was a form of Hebrew. It was a form of Hebrew. And when the Spanish came, they had Hebrew translators, right? Because they knew that we would not understand the language that they speak, according to Bible prophecy. All right, keep reading.
Verse 50, a nation of fierce countenance.
A nation of fierce countenance. Now those Spanish, what were the title, what were they called when they got over here? Have you ever heard of the conquistadors? Conquistadores. That word means conquerors. They came and conquered the people. And how did they do it? Exactly, they were killing. They would, oh, this is the wrong one. So what they did is they hung up the men by 13s, representing Christ and the 12 disciples. They hung them up and burned them alive. That is fierce countenance. That is a cruel way to die. They also took the babies and dashed them against the rocks. They killed babies by slamming them on the ground and against rocks. That's cruel, right? Yeah. All right, keep reading.
A nation of fierce countenance, which shall not regard the person of the old, nor show favor to the young.
So again, they were killing babies all the way up to old men. Men and women, babies, boys and girls. And then the men in between. They were also raping our women. All right, keep reading.
And he shall eat the fruit of thy cattle, and the fruit of thy land, until thou be destroyed.
So they took all of the resources that the Aztecs were growing, the corn, wine, every kind of food that the Aztecs grew. The Spanish took that and kept it for themselves. And now we have to rely on them just to eat. All right, keep reading.
Which also shall not leave thee either corn, wine, or oil, or the increase of thy kind, or flocks of thy sheep, until he have destroyed thee.
So along with the crops and the vegetation that grew up, they took our animals. So now we have no meat. We had no sheep, cows for beef, etc. So now we have no way of sustaining ourselves for food. Now we must get it from them. All right, what are we reading in the Bible? Moses said this will happen to the Israelites. Give me verse 46.
Verse 46. And they shall be upon thee for a sign.
So, and they, meaning these curses, would be upon the Israelites for a sign. Now, why is that? When you walked up, you said your nationality was Mexican. These curses would be upon the Israelites for a sign. Meaning, these curses identify who the Israelites are. You follow what I'm saying? All right, keep reading.
And they shall be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder.
And for a wonder. So have you ever thought and wondered why the atrocities continue to plague the blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans? You think it's because we're strong. That's biblical. We are strong. It takes a strong people to endure everything that we had to endure. But what was the cause of us serving or suffering these things? Deuteronomy 28:15. So again, I'm going to read it to you again. Keep reading.
Verse 15. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes which I command thee this day.
So God said he would send curses on the Israelites for not keeping his commandments. All right, so that's why. All right, so now, do you understand that you're an Israelite? All right, so now, Deuteronomy 10 and 12. So now that you know that you're an Israelite, God requires something of you. Because remember, how do we get into this situation? We refuse to keep God's commandments. All right, so read that.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 10 and verse 12.
What's your name again? Say it again. Salvador? Salvador. All right, I'm Hezekiah. All right, read.
And now Israel.
It says, and now Salvador. Read.
What does the Lord thy God require of thee? But to fear the Lord thy God.
So what does God require of you but to fear God? How do you fear God? All right, he asks you to believe on him. What does believe mean? Smart 32. Okay, so God tells you how to believe on him in the Bible. The answers to every question under the earth is written in the Bible, all right? So this is how do you believe on God?
The book of Sirach, chapter 32, verse 24. He that believeth in the Lord taketh heed to the commandment.
So again, everything goes back to keeping the commandments or not keeping the commandments. So for you to believe on God means that you will take heed to the commandments, all right? Go back to there, yeah.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 10 and verse 12. And now Israel, what does the Lord thy God require of thee? But to fear the Lord thy God.
So to fear God means to fear his judgments. This right here that happened to the so-called Hispanics, this was all judgment for not keeping his commandments. You follow what I'm saying? All right? Keep reading.
To walk in all his ways.
So how do you walk in the ways of God? There you go, following the commandments. It's going to say it. Keep reading.
And to love him, and to serve the Lord thy God with all thy heart and with all thy soul. To keep the commandments of the Lord.
So that's what the Lord our God requires of us, is to keep the commandments, all right? So now, you know that you're an Israelite from the tribe of Issachar. You know you must keep the commandments. So I'm going to give you a commandment, 1 Corinthians 11.
The book of 1 Corinthians, chapter 11 and verse 3. But I would have you know that the head of every man is Christ, and the head of the woman is the man, and the head of Christ is God.
All right, so now, this gives the divine order, all right? So we're going to read it from the top.
But I would have you know that the head of every man is Christ.
So when it says the head, it means the leader. So who's the leader of the man? Read it again.
But I would have you know that the head of every man is Christ.
So who is the head of every man? Say it again. No, read it again.
But I would have you know that the head of every man is Christ.
So who's the head of every man? Christ. All right, keep reading.
And the head of the woman is the man.
So the man is the head of every woman. All right, keep reading.
And the head of Christ is God.
So the divine order is God is at the top, Christ, then Christ is under, then the man, then the women, then the children. All right, so keep reading.
Every man praying or prophesying.
So if you're praying or prophesying, I mean Revelation 19. So in the spirit of prophesying is, read that. I'm going to show you what prophesying is. So also when you're praying, when you're at home, this applies to that as well.
Revelation chapter 19 and verse 10. And I fell at his feet to worship him. And he said unto me, see thou do it not. I am thy fellow servant and of thy brethren that have the testimony of Jesus. Worship God, for the testimony of Jesus is the spirit of prophecy.
So Christ comes in the volume of the book. So whenever you're in earshot of hearing the words of the Bible, you're in the midst of the spirit of prophecy. All right? So again, it says, every man praying or prophesying. Read.
1 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 4. Every man praying or prophesying, having his head covered, dishonoreth his head.
All right, so now, it says, every man praying or prophesying, having his physical head covered, dishonors his head. So who's the head of the man? Christ. So it's saying if your head is physically covered, you are dishonoring Christ. So with that information, what should you do now? All praises to the Most High. So now that is a sign of repentance, all right? That shows that you're humbling down to the scriptures, all right? Now, let me give you another one, Leviticus 21:5. So we explained that we must, as Israelites, keep the commandments of God and the faith of Christ. Read.
Leviticus chapter 21 and verse 5. They shall not make baldness upon their head, neither shall they shave off the corner of their beard.
All right, so now every Israelite man cannot shave his head or his beard. So can you grow a beard? Yeah. All right, so now, let me see it. So now, what must you do in order to not have a beard on your face? Well, what do? Do you shave? You have to shave. So read this.
The book of 1 John chapter 3 and verse 4. Whosoever committeth sin transgresseth also the law, for sin is the transgression of the law.
So sin is the breaking of God's laws. So you said you shave, that is a sin. That is the breaking of the law that I just read you, where you must grow your beard. You follow what I'm saying? All right? So now, what should you do from this day forward? Let it grow. You let it grow, all right? So now, give me Hebrews 10 and 25. So now, with this knowledge, actually give me Zephaniah 2 and 1 first. With this knowledge that you must keep the commandments, you must also have somebody to continue to teach you the commandments, right? All right, read that.
The book of Zephaniah chapter 2 and verse 1. Gather yourselves together. Yea, gather together, O nation not desired.
So the nation not desired is the nation of Israel right here. The biblical nation of Israel, which is the blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. And it says, gather ourselves together because we must come together and teach and learn, or learn the commandments, and then also go out and teach others what we have learned. You follow what I'm saying? Keep reading.
Before the decree brings forth.
Before the decree brings forth is talking about World War III. This America is going to be destroyed by thermonuclear fire. Right. And it's saying that we must come together before that takes place. All right?
We used to scream black power while heroin was pushed. But at the end of the day, nothing's in vain. IUIC has been given a vision. The tents of Judah has risen. Many has attempted the mission, minor murmuring, omitting, and missing the mark. Just reading that he had the flame of fire in his eyes gave us the spark. We on Paul's mission. We out on the road, purple and gold, from Mexico, Cuba, Haiti, Ghana, Sierra Leone. 144,000 boots banging, concrete crackling. These are our men repented at heart. The scriptures is proof. IUIC, we deliver the truth.